This is This Normal? Brought to you by the Center for Positive Sexuality and Exquisite Restraint Corsets. And I'm your host, Emily. And tonight we have our guest, Adrianne Akers. And this is our third Halloween episode. So I have a Halloween hat that I actually got for Christmas. So Simona is absent today. She had like Halloween plans and stuff for tonight.
Yeah.
So she's missing it.
She's queer.
She is queer. And tonight is actually going to be our last live show for 2011. We're going to go on vacation for November and December and come back in January. Adrianne is one of the center's presenters. You used to present for us. And you're also the director for Geodes?
Executive director.
Executive director.
Sorry, executive director.
She's the executive director for Geodes. And can you talk about what that is?
Geodes is pretty much kind of what you guys do in the realm of educating. I focus on disability and how it's seen and handled within society, and that's basically what I do. And I give presentations to classes of all kinds, elementary school to college age.
Okay. Yeah. And I know that you were telling me about some of the elementary school classes that you were doing.
Yeah, it's really fun. I don't talk too much to them. I set up an obstacle course, and then I have them stimulate a disability, whether it's blindness or they have to use a manual wheelchair, and they have to go through this obstacle course with their disability, and it's fun for them, and they learn a lot just by being able to get in the equipment and use it.
I think that's really interesting. And do you think that that's helping them get a better understanding of what that's like as a day-to-day experience? Or
Somewhat. I mean, I think they feel like they understand more, which is good because they're more open-minded to hearing other people's stories. Maybe going up to someone in a wheelchair and saying, "Hi, how are you?"
Right.
So I think just them having that experience and being able to ask questions in an open, honest setting is really good. So yeah, I think I don't think they have a real understanding, but they have they have more of an understanding of what's going on.
And so do you think, because we've had at least decades, and probably at least a century or two, if not more, of parents telling their kids, don't look at them, ignore that person, don't talk to them, they don't want you to see them sitting there, in a chair or whatever.
Right.
So do you think doing this sort of thing starts to break that down a little bit?
Yeah, it kind of breaks down the monster stereotype. Like we're monsters and we shouldn't be looked at or else we'll attack. You know?
Right.
So that's what I really hope it's doing, is making people with disabilities seem more human in the eyes of the mainstream. And that's my goal. Yeah.
I think that's great. No, I think it's a wonderful goal. For the Center for Positive Sexuality, Adrianne speaks specifically on disabilities and sex.
Of course, I don't talk about
not
that
to
with
the elementary school kids,
you know.
college students.
Yes.
But it's still a very important topic because, again, there's that stereotype that someone who is disabled, at the very least, doesn't have sex, and at the very extreme, you're non-sexual.
Right. Doesn't want.
You're
sex.
not a sexual person.
Right.
You cease to exist sexually.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Cease to exist. Period.
Cease to exist.
But yeah, especially sexually and romantically, and it's funny how it's kind of seen as we don't have those same urges as everyone else, except for to our face, we'll be told, "Oh, you're just like anyone else." but then the subject of sex that comes up, and it's, you know, you know, that'll be for later.
Right.
Well, I'm 27 now.
Come on.
Come on!
How much later, really?
What are you waiting for?
And so, especially because you're in a wheelchair, I have to assume that people then assume that nothing works from the waist down.
Correct.
Whether or
So
not-
they're surprised when I get up and I
Right.
stand up and stretch and then sit in a different chair or
Right.
actually take a couple steps, you know? So, yeah. And, well, I'm disabled, so I don't have genitals and, you know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was part of the package.
Right,
You also
yeah.
don't have to.
Right.
So,
I do have genitals, just
Just a
to,
little. for the
just
record.
to clarify.
yeah, she actually. Well, I haven't seen them, but we've talked about it, and I'm pretty certain they're there. She's not like that Barbie smooth where
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
I've seen them. They're there.
I've seen.
They exist. They do. How has that affected you personally?
Which part?
Kind of people having that perspective that you're
Oh.
asexual or non-sexual and there's.
Well, for me personally, I definitely am. When it comes to romantic situations, I do get a little awkward because I don't know how to handle it. I know how to handle having sex, but I don't know how to handle the courting kind of process.
Right.
I don't know if the people are really interested or just being nice, or, you know, so I just assume everyone's just being nice, and I kind of lose a lot of opportunities that I otherwise might have in having romantic relationships. In high school, I had a boyfriend, and I honestly felt as though he was going to be the only one who would ever love me because I'm disabled.
Right.
So I put up with a lot of crap from him. You know, abuse, sexual abuse, and this happens. I've read that this happens to a lot of people with disabilities because we just stay.
You're an easy target.
Yeah, we're an easy target, and we put up with it because we think this isn't my only chance
Right.
at love, so I better live with this. So, and it's totally wrong.
It is totally wrong. And what's sucky is that people who are able to do that too.
Yes. Yes.
Because this clearly is not specific to someone.
Oh no, it's just
But it does seem to be a larger target or a larger.
It seems
lack
to
of-
be more prevalent in the literature about disability.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure it has more to do with the low self-esteem rather than the actual disability, whatever it is.
Right.
But it's still kind of like having your family reinforce the putting up with whatever. It's, oh, well, he's good in other ways, honey. Okay.
Which ways would those be?
That's nice. So he'll go get me a cup of water and then molest me later. You know, I don't feel that equates.
Right. These aren't balancing.
No. You know, so, yeah.
So then, no, I think that's important to point out. Do you also find that in your difficulty in beginning that relationship, because you're not sure if somebody is just being nice or if they're genuinely feeling the way they feel, have you had problems with or heard others that have had problems with someone fetishizing
Oh, yes.
the disability, and so what they're actually interested in is the fact that you're disabled, not who you are as a person.
And that weirds me out. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of devotees out there who are great people, But just like I wouldn't want to be loved for my hair or for my feet or for my hands. I don't want to be loved because of my disability. I want to be loved because of me. Because of my quirky sense of humor, because of whatever. You know, I have heard about others being weirded out by those who come on too strong with their fetishes and their desires to be with someone who's in a wheelchair or who has amputated legs or arms or, you know, who use leg braces. There's a bunch of different fetishes that have to do with disabilities.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, it's fascinating. And I've heard that devotees are like the nicest people ever. To me, the ones who would come on to me come on a little too strong, and I'm just kind of like, oh, no thanks. Because they come on to the disability and not to me.
Right.
Just like, oh guys, yeah, your boobs, you know. Oh, okay, my eyes are right here, you know.
Yeah. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's fun if you're that interested in me, but I need that to be at me.
Right. And not at
a
this.
part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's understandable. So when you do presentations to college students about sex and disabilities, what are some of the things that you discuss?
Well, I like to have it mostly a question and answer session, because I know, you know, if I just sat up there and talked, it would just be like another lecture. But I know people have questions, so I give a little bit of an overview of what's in the literature, some of my personal experiences, and then I just have them ask me questions about, you know, what it's like and what kind of different positions I've had to try to, you know, work out around my disability. And, you know, I recently, well, last year I broke my knee, so now my knee doesn't bend as far as it used to, so now it's even more different than it used to be. So it's, you know, it's great because I know people have questions and they're not allowed an opportunity to ask them a lot. Because you can't go up to a stranger in a store and say, how do you have sex? I mean, I could because I'm disabled. But you can't.
I'll get arrested for that.
I've been told to stop.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that anymore. There's
Court
just
order.
sort of this overall restraining order that keeps you from approaching anyone in public.
Blanket rule.
Blanket rule, yeah.
Whatsoever.
That's how it is.
We kept stealing sandwiches from school children.
One of the things that I like to point out when I'm talking about sex and disabilities, because usually people first assume a lifelong disability or something that's really encumbering, and don't take into consideration, you know what? Don't take into consideration,
Yawning.
you know, everybody has, you know, because people can experience temporary disabilities from injuries or whatever happens, and these can be emotional or physical. Or as you get older, things just don't work as well longer. And the acrobatic sex that you were having at 19 and 20, when you start to get over 40, you realize you need to start bringing in stunt doubles if you want to keep doing this stuff.
Or at least lots of pillows.
Yeah, a lot of pillows. And yeah, maybe not the carrying stuff so much anymore.
No.
Oh man.
Forget the
I almost died
trapeze.
today.
You would need to swim instead of a trapeze.
Right,
know.
yeah, you want to swing instead of the trapeze, this kind of stuff. Limber up beforehand. Make sure you stretch. Don't just jump right in.
Right. Yeah, no, I think before my grandfather passed, my grandparents were still active for a long time until he got sick. But before that, they were 80 years old and bumping uglies.
Bumping ugly! Woo-hoo!
And yeah, I never asked because they're my grandparents and
Right. It's a
ew,
little weird.
you know, ew. But I've read in literature, you know, that, you know, couples still have sex when they're 80 years old.
Absolutely.
And they still crave it, and they still want that intimacy, physically, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, they needed to learn new ways to work around knee replacements and hip replacements and all kinds of bodily replacements. They had to work around because you can't move like you
Dealing
used to.
with things like diabetes
Yeah.
or heart issues.
Or just weak bladder,
Weak bladder, yeah.
you know.
You know.
You have to plan ahead. So yeah, disability is something that everyone, if they're lucky, will deal with eventually. You know, because they're going to get old and lose ability. And that's basically what disability is not having one ability or several. And
Right.
that doesn't mean you're not able, it's just you do things differently.